Hello, 8th grade artists. I really enjoy the projects that we have in 8th grade. I really like the world culture and tribute specifically, and that character redux is just interesting because I know kids like it, but this might be my favorite. It might be my biggest interest in art, and that's art history and it's art movements, groups of artists who work together. A lot of the artists that are famous, such as Pablo Picasso, can be associated with Cubism, Vincent van Gogh with Post-Impressionism, Henri Matisse with Fauvism, Claude Monet with Impressionism. One of his pieces kind of created the idea of what we call Impressionism. So, I've also noticed that a lot of times art history is kind of measured by art movements, groups of artists or in gallery shows working together. Sometimes it was against popular opinion or the art critic world or the gallery scene. Sometimes it was something deeper. Um, Sometimes it was something like a response to maybe wartime or oppression or political agendas. There's so many art movements that are interesting, and I could list some for you. And you could also, in this, like most of our projects, it's choice based. Here's a good example: Orphism, which is kind of an offset of Cubism. Another kind of cool example, and there's so many in this book, is the Koba group, actually a response to war, about a three-year art movement. Um, Here's one that's really cool called Fauvism. Fauvism means wild beasts. Just like Impressionism, Fauvism wasn't met with great reception in the gallery scene. In fact, when they were called wild beasts, it was, as you can maybe guess, was supposed to be an insult. Andre Derain's one of my favorite artists. There's one of his pieces, and a lot of color in the Fauvist pieces. One of the most popular is, of course, Cubism, which we know Pablo Picasso. Here's a Picasso example. He didn't just do portraits in Cubism. Here is a still life. And if you're familiar with the artist Cezanne, there's a lot of Cezanne influence in this. Kind of like we did with the artist interpretation project last year, where you do something based upon an artist. I'd like to do a piece based upon an art movement. This is my absolute favorite. The Blue Rider Group, written here in German. Here we have Asli Kandinsky, a painting in 1909. His wife Gabrielle Munter also created very similar works, and they had a lot of very colorful pieces, but Franz Marc's Blue Horses is what kind of gave him the name. This is a piece called Birds by Franz Marc, which I love. He's one of my favorite artists ever. Top 3 of my favorite artists. So the Blue Rider Group would work. They weren't around for very long. Another German group. The Blue Rider and this group, the Brücke, or the Bridge, kind of make up what we call Expressionism. A little bit of Fauvism in here as well. Here we have Kirchner. And the color often, is different. A lot of these scenes are kind of like street scenes in Berlin. The Italian Futurist movement, which kind of celebrated technology and movement. The Industrial Revolution, things from bicycles moving to machines working. Here's a great piece by Morgan Russell called Cosmic Symphony. Again, very colorful. The examples I show you are often colorful, though the German Expressionists did a whole bunch of very powerful black and white prints. Here's a couple kind of examples I have that I think might kind of show a little bit of art movements, and I will, of course, include some in our Google Classroom examples. So a lot of my style is kind of abstract and linear, and I feel like there's a little bit of abstract expressionism or Blue Rider Group influence in this. Cubism influence in this piece. Again, I like to do a lot of guitarists. So these two, looks like a banjo player and a guitarist. Okay, definitely my own style, but and of course, this one you might have seen for the character redux, an example, but this is basically based on the idea of pop art with, Warhol with the 4 different images repeated, but instead of 4 different images of this same subject, it's 4 different characters in that same kind of composition. And this one as well is a good example. Kind of looks like a little bit of Blue Rider Group influence here with the bird. Doesn't look like a typical bird. So a lot of these artists that I like a lot: Romare Bearden, part of the Harlem Renaissance; Franz Marc, part of the Blue Rider Group; Pablo Picasso, who initiated Cubism. They were part of groups of artists that worked together and learned from each other, and sometimes had a common goal, whether it be aesthetically through their art, the subject matter, or maybe even politically or even socially or spiritually. So what I'd like you to do in this project is pick an art movement, and I'll list some, but you can find many online, and maybe know a couple of the artists that contributed to this movement, and create a piece kind of in that style, in that vein. Personalize it. Not all their work look exactly like a carbon copy, but I'd like you to be more familiar with art movements, just like I'd like you to be more familiar with artists within those movements. And I think just like color theory is better understood through the foundation of the color wheel, I think art history, especially modern art, past around say 1850, is best represented through art movements and those groups of artists kind of working together. So have fun with this assignment. I really like this one. Feel free to use any material or size, be realistic or abstract. If you do a little research on art movements and art groups, you will see there is a variety of different styles and subject matter to choose from. Okay, thank you.